Start off with the normal cringy stuff because some of you boys who are in chat might not recognise any of these beautiful faces. I mean, you should definitely recognise one of them, mine, obviously. But if we just go around the table and tell us, like, you know, what you've been doing this week. Now, obviously, everybody here should be on the TBC beta. I've sort of checked them. I know if you watch TSW stream, he labels it as beta, but he's actually playing on Entropius. So if you want to check that server out. No, I'm only kidding. So look, Redzy, kick off. Tell us a bit about yourself, and you know what one thing that you're absolutely loving on the beta right now.
Okay, right. So I'm Redzy TV. I play video games worse than you since '92. I absolutely love World of Warcraft. Massive fan, as you can see from all of the ridiculous, stupid shit I have behind me. I'm a big fan, and also like love the lore. So if you want to talk about that, I'm no noble, but I will have a good go. Played Classic all the way from launch avidly, 18 hours a day. My girlfriend nearly left me, but it was worth it. I killed Oni 5 days, so I'm proud. Apart from that, I've had no real fucking good achievements in the game. I've just been progressing with the tiers in the content until end of AQ, when I thought, fuck that, I'm not going to go and play Nax. I haven't got it in me. And yeah, beta, I'm just loving the fact that the loading screen pops up and you've got that never-ending feeling of hype. You just know it's going to be sick. We're going to have such a sick time, boys. Get ready. It's going to be nice.
Cheers, Redzy. Cheers, Red. That's at TSW. I mean, there's probably no introduction needed, but go on, just humorous. When I said humorous, I didn't mean take the piss out of us because you got your mic on mute. I mean, you know.
Oh, shit. I've one push to talk. I'm sorry. You can see behind me my other hobbies and interests besides WoW, i.e. nothing, because all I do is play WoW. Yeah, in a somewhat serious guild in Classic right now. I think top 30 speedrun currently, and yeah, played naughty servers for about 8 years. Stream as much as I can. You know, I live and breathe TBC, and yeah, it's all good. Twitch and YouTube, TSW.
Yeah, I will plug all of your channels in. It'll all be in the description of the YouTube video, and obviously, as we go through, I'll just try and put all of your details when I'm not talking in Twitch chat, so everyone can go and give you a follow on Twitch and a sub on YouTube. So finally, Fake QT, talk to me.
Well, lately I've just been testing a lot on beta, you know, all the different windows, respawn times and such. I haven't really been leveling at all. My character is still level 60, but that's because I'm running around in the world, testing different things, bug testing. I've actually found quite a few things, like places where you can no-clip through stuff.
Shit.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff. I haven't been testing leveling yet, but it seems like most streamers are doing that already. So that's why I'm trying to cover some other parts of the game.
Cool. Well, I'll certainly be taking notes all the way through this so I can get some free videos out and claim all of these findings as my own. Reds is there with a notepad already. So obviously you guys on Twitch, on YouTube, you're going to know who I am, but just briefly what I've been doing this week, really brief. Well, we'll talk about today because I don't want to go into everything because otherwise you'll just listen to all the info now and leave. But I'm concentrating quite a lot on stealth farming and just general gold making in instances on your own. And I've been probably putting a fair bit of focus on that over the last few days. So we'll get into all of that as we start going around the table on what we found basically. So I'm gonna hand over to TSW first because since he started talking as soon as he joined the chat, I'm really intrigued on what he's been doing. So I want to let's just go around with what our biggest find is, or not necessarily find. It might be something, like I'm going to talk a bit about stealth farming. So it's something that we know, or I've been sort of saying, there's going to be stealth farms. I made videos about it before the beta was even out, and I'm sort of now doubly confirming the information I've been putting out on YouTube, and it's correct. So I want to go into that. So TSW, what's the one thing so far that you've discovered that maybe you didn't know, or you did know but works?
Like just the dungeon leveling meta, what works, what doesn't work, what specs you want to go, class comp, how much XP per hour you can get, and particularly before I got the beta, I was watching everybody's streams, and I was literally I was screenshotting their XP bar and figuring out how much XP that they started the dungeon with and how much they got at the end. and the duration of their run, and then finding out the XP per hour for their group comps and what have you. So I was doing that kind of sweaty work, finding out which streamers are leveling the quickest.
Even when you weren't in the beta, you were still absolutely min-maxing the beta. I fucking love it. I absolutely fucking love it.
And so the frustrating thing for me is one guy in the guild besides me has the beta access, and he's got like, I don't know, 3 maths exams or something this week or next week. So I'm almost on my own in terms of guild representation. So I'm forced to kind of pug stuff, and that can be a bit frustrating when I'm wanting to pump and people are just not really sure what they're doing in the dungeon. But yeah, like I spammed a load of dungeons, and yeah, it's been good fun. I did, my first dungeon yesterday is Deep Prot, so that was an Orkney Crypts, so like a level 68, 70 dungeon. At level 64, the level cap is still 64. So we cleared Orkney Crypts with like level 62s and 63s in the dungeon as well. So that was good fun.
Was it comfortable?
Surprisingly, yes. Deep Prot does have a significant amount more survivability than playing Fury. Who'd have known? But yeah, I was tanking all the dungeons as like straight Fury before, and that's fine. The damage is insane. Like, it's so satisfying playing warrior in beta because you're so powerful. The issue is as well, like 70% of the max levels on beta are warriors, and that's a tough pill that on beta people haven't really swallowed yet, and it's going to take time for that meta to evolve. And it's a bit, if you have any possible chance of playing any other class, like, it saddens me as a warrior, but probably get off the warrior,
Now's the time kind of thing, because TBC makes so many flavors viable that, like, if you do want to try something else, you should go for it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get raid testing as well, and that'll be the nail in the coffin for the warrior.
Well, I mean, interesting. The vendors have been added, so I'm assuming we are going to get raid testing on the basis that the raid gear vendors have been added.
It would be so cruel for them to add literal raid teleportation NPCs in the game, but not let us go to the raids.
They're going to need to let us test it, otherwise, the content's just going to be undertuned like it was in Classic.
Yeah, and with the drums post as well, they were saying about the they don't want to do anything that affects the tuning. And I'm there looking at Classic WoW, people progressing it in 1 day or in 4 hours. And it's like, maybe you do want to look at the raid tuning. It's like
100%.
Might do them
hashtag some changes. Tuning is one of the things that I wouldn't be opposed to changes.
Yeah, at the same time,
I don't want to clear content in 1 day.
It'd be fucking hilarious if they don't even remotely let us touch Brutalis or anything. And then we just find out the really hard way. You get one shot.
Yeah, or just like every guild, like imagine like the top 500 guilds kill Brutalis in their first attempt.
Yeah, well, it's like
by that
absolutely
point
zero
we've got Warglaives, split runs,
And I can see that happening.
Absolutely maxed out.
I can genuinely see it being quite face roll. But yeah, they need to tune the raids. But you mentioned about the like dungeon, looking at the dungeon cleaving XP, the whole meta around just leveling in dungeons and forgetting quests. What has that been like for you? As in, have you found it quite quick? Has the instance cap been a problem?
I've not hit instance cap again with the pugs. What I'd really like is to get some more guildies in, so we can absolutely just blast through the dungeons and see what's possible in terms of XP per hour. But yeah, like and questing as well. It's like when I was watching streamers when I didn't have the beta, you see them and they're struggling to quest. And I'm like cringing so hard. It's like, dude, like I know how to do these quests. But now, once you get through like the starting quest and stuff, it can get very frustrating without any kind of add-ons that assist you. Same with like Battle Shout. It's so cringe when I'm doing a dungeon. I'm like, oh my god, I don't have Battle Shout on. I don't remember the last time I pressed Battle Shout. And I've got a guy who's like an add-on developer in my chat, and he made such a good comment saying it's physically impossible to keep Battle Shout up without add-ons. And I completely agree. Like Battle Shout doesn't exist without an add-on. It's so funny. But it's
when you said that you did a test and you were tanking, what did you say, Orkney at 64?
Yeah.
So what healer did you have for that?
We had a paladin healer, which in my opinion is the worst healer for 5-mans because they can only heal one target at a time. So as soon as there's any kind of cleave, like any AoE damage, like I lose threat, and like someone's dying, they need to be healed, but like, you know, they have to choose one person to heal. Like Paladin sucks, but we've got a good Paladin that I found. They're on my friends list, and we just run dungeons together. You know,
it's interesting that it's a
works.
Paladin. I honestly, like, straight away I was thinking, okay, well, there's got to be some form of resto dude.
Yeah, you got to imagine it's an OP class, but no.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be interesting again to get guildies on, like, or even just make like pre-made characters and just mess about with like 5 mages and like a prop paladin, or like 4 mages and a prop paladin, and just AoE stuff, and like, I don't know, just play about and really try and break the game in terms of like the meta, just because like it needs to be tested. Like same for the raids as well. Like if we do manage to get Kara on the beta, I want to test it with 9 other knowledgeable players, so you can say to Blizzard, you know, let's say for example that it's a little bit undertuned and we one-shot everything without wiping. We need to do that in order to say to Blizzard, can we get some tuning, please? Because particularly if it's a pug, or like we wipe once or twice on Prince or Nightbane or whatever, it's like, okay, this is kind of easy, you know, like we need to get that message across, because with Classic we didn't get the opportunity to do raid testing on the beta, and that is, I think that would have really changed the trajectory and how Blizzard approaches PvE and raiding. And I think that there's a chance for us to do that in the TBC beta if we do see the raids. And I think it's important because, like, does anyone in chat or anyone here want to have 1-day progress in TBC?
No, imagine waiting all this time.
Not.
Imagine waiting all this time for TBC. You get it, and it's like it's like Pokemon Red on Game Boy. It's not really that difficult, mate. Just get a Wartortle and you'll be fine. Like, that would be the most fucking frustrating thing ever.
Well, I've already started trying to get together the looking at who's on the beta that I know and getting a decent Karazhan, like you said, where there's, you know, every player in the raid knows exactly what they're doing on every boss, just to see how face roll it is.
Of players,
Exactly, but I reckon between us we could make that work. I mean, I know probably 6 or 7 that are on now that have played a lot, you know, years on naughty servers. But the interesting thing, just going back to what you were saying about dungeons and the fact you had a Holy Paladin as well, is really a Holy Paladin is quite literally the worst possible healer specifically for Orkney Crypts, because of that boss where it slows casting speed.
We've had level 63 mages trying to attack level 69 and 70 mobs in Orkney Crypts, and they're like, so let's sheep this mob. And I'm like calling him out on stream, like, what is going on? He sheeps it once, and then for the remainder of like the 5-minute trash fight, there's no sheep going on, and he's like typing like, "I'm watching the stream, dude. I can't get a sheep on these mobs at all." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dude." Like, I'm looking at these mobs thinking they're 4 or 5 levels higher than me. He's there like, they're 7 levels higher than me. I'm like, "I'm sorry."
We had exactly the same thing with Mincy, unfortunately. Mincy was spam sheep in a mob that was actually immune. He was like, "It's immune. I'll do it again. Immune. I'll do it again. Immune." That went on for 5 minutes.
We were 58 character template copies in Ramparts, and the mob was 61, and they got 3 resists back to back, then went immune, and we were just like, "Fuck, well, this is it then."
Dude, we tried Steam Vaults as well. I was meleeing for 20 to 30 damage white hits on the mobs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Meanwhile, you go Ramparts and you're hitting for like 300.
Yeah. Sorry, got technical difficulty. Someone's saying that the stream's lagging, and I don't know why, because it's sat really stable. But
it looks okay my side so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll crack on. So that's what you've been doing, TSW. So just doing level 69, 70 dungeons. Oh, you mentioned Steam Vaults. How did that go?
Very difficult. It's hard with pugs, and all the mobs like level 70, and you basically just need to kite your way through the dungeon, because you can't, like, it's like doing Mythic Plus. I think I didn't do any Mythic Plus in retail. I just did like the first wave of Mythic, and I don't know, whatever. Like, it's kind of like that. You need to. It's good. I like it because you need to know. Like, the mobs have a silence aura that they can do. Like, they'll silence everyone within a certain range of themselves. Like, you need to know the mechanics, because as soon as that goes on, the healer, you're dead. Like, you just need to really abuse the hunter slow trap, and you just use all your cooldowns. And because the fights, each pack is taking like 5 minutes, every other pack you have access to like last stand and stuff. So the cooldowns are critical. I like it. I would love to do this content with people from my guild, and then you can really
push it to the limit, like actually
have a good time.
Yeah.
because it's annoying in the back of your mind when you're thinking, I'm getting healed and it's going okay, but could I be healed better? Like, you don't really have the communication with the people as well as if you were playing with people Same with like damage and stuff. Like there's no damage meter. Scott, someone in my stream also was linking a Warcraft logs that you were a part of. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
So I set up Warcraft logs. So now I'm basically logging every single dungeon I do. And that's really interesting to see as well. Because it's basically... Because when you're doing Ramparts and Blood Furnace, it's so satisfying playing a Fury Warrior because the numbers are so big and you're critting so much. I'm like, I must be doing 50%. Like, I'm telling the stream, I must be doing 50% of this group's damage. And
mate, when you came in...
logs,
and you just fucking you just saved the day and carried us a little bit there. Like, I say a little bit. Yeah, 50% is a little bit of an understatement, I think. You just came in with just
fun.
I opened up your stream, and then when you sent that link, I was like, the fuck? It's just yellow numbers everywhere.
It's mental.
All over the place.
But using Warcraft logs, I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing. I'm never doing a dungeon on it because it's going to start giving us realistic numbers from, like that group I was in, the Warlock was like, not full tier 3, but, very, very well geared. And then I think there was me and... What was the other one in it? Can you remember when you looked at the logs? It might have been a warrior, actually. A DPS warrior. But I know it was the numbers weren't what I was expecting. I mean, the thing is, when I didn't realise you was logging until like the second boss or something, and I was like, oh, I better actually try. But obviously, I'm not going to try and trash as a druid. But you don't without actually knowing that recount's working or details is working or you're being logged. You're not that bothered, are you? You're not power shifting on trash to try and do as much damage as you can.
I'm streaming, so I'm trying.
No, I don't. I just sit there talking to the stream instead and then just auto attack until everything dies. But anyway, so okay, that's what TSW's been testing, been doing. I've got a list, so I'll let you boys go next. So QT, what have you been doing?
Oh, well, like I started off by saying when we started the podcast. Well, yesterday I tested dungeons, so those that prevent you from entering without a key. So we tested different things on stream to figure out if we could enter the gates or like get through the doors. And it seems like you can dev skip with by locking out and some different things. But you can actually dev skip the doors. So, for example, you need the first key fragment from SL. And you can get through that gate without the key. So that is really huge if you look at, progressing, because you can actually skip one dungeon by doing that. Dungeon, I can't remember the name right now, but yeah, where you need the key.
Suffolk Halls.
Yeah, exactly. So that is really huge. Also, shepherd halls, you can enter going through the gate, dev skipping, and no clipping. And no, I'm not using any hacks or anything, but you can actually, there's a way to abuse it, and for some reason you can no clip it, even when you're not when you're not dead, you can actually run through it on mount. So those things I reported yesterday. Then we tested all the different respawn times for recipes, primal might, like all the important ones for engineering, for enchanting, all that kind of stuff. And the respawn times seems to be really fast, which is awesome, because I'm actually afraid else people are going to go there with macros and scripts and try to buy them to get a huge amount of gold and then resell them. I also tried to recreate my own scripts and macros, and so far it seems like I can't do anything in order to buy them. I couldn't scroll on my mouse and instant buy everything, so that's some really good signs, definitely.
So just to interrupt, just going back to the primal, you said about you was testing the obviously limited primal might vendor. I've heard it's about 8 minutes, and you said it's really fast. Are we talking 8 minutes, or are we talking really fast? Because 8 minutes is still pretty slow.
We're talking 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Why even make them limited supply at that point?
Yeah, exactly.
It does seem.
I guess they will do at some point. Who knows? But I hope so. But still, 2 to 3 minutes or like 2 to 8 minutes is way better than 2 to 4 hours. And on some servers, it has been up to 12 hours sometimes. So 2 to 3 minutes or 2 to 8 minutes is definitely decent. Also considering you have 3 different windows selling them. So
well, I'm calling it now. I anticipate those vendors looking like a Tesco's queue, like in COVID, where they'll just literally form a queue all the way around the city, taking it in turns and looting it. I mean, that would be only be fair anyway, wouldn't it? Rather than leaving
I thought
it
it'd be
to
like
luck.
seeing a load of simps or something on like OnlyFans. Like everyone just like queuing around like in a massive ball of gnomes and Draenei trying to buy the patterns.
It's inevitable. It's definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
But if you can sit-
even if there's a small respawn timer, you know that people are just going to turn up.
Yeah,
100%.
like what you should do.
Definitely.
What you could do, I'm not endorsing this, but you could literally just be there spamming it and just have like literally buy them and delete them, buy them and delete them, knowing that you've got 10 on the auction house at 1,000 gold each. Like, people are not going to spend 20 minutes trying to out tag the purchase of the pattern from you.
Now that is market manipulation, boys.
Hang on a second though. Warrior TSW said that, and Redzy, you didn't pick your notepad up, mate. You need to write it down, or you're going to forget.
Sorry, I got it in my hand.
He's just writing in marker on his hand. That'd be good.
Got a tattoo gun. I'm just like, don't fucking forget this one.
What else? What else you been doing, QT? Or is that about it? So interestingly, so you said about the door to Shattered Halls. Can we just go back to that for a minute? So you could get through there without dying.
You have to go through it once to with like dev skipping, but after for some reason you're bugged and you can enter or go through all gates, and that's what I'm saying. Like then you can I don't know how and why it happens, but if you die in front of the gate and you log out and you log back in, then for some reason now you can no-clip everything. It's so weird, but you can run through every single old gates.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's super busted, and that obviously needs to be fixed because players disconnecting when they die is not a new thing. Like that happens genuinely without trying to manipulate. So it's bound to happen if they don't fix it.
If you run into Sethek Halls and then run out, are you still no clip through the gate?
No.
Okay, because I was wondering if you could then do Sethek Halls and go straight to the last boss, because then...
Go to the end.
Oh, well, I haven't tested. I haven't really been testing because, I can't get past all the monsters. But yeah, it's for sure something that is interesting.
So
Definitely.
would that actually work in Shattered Halls as well? As in, where you've got before the sewers.
Yeah, is it removed on the exit of the dungeon, or is it removed on the entrance to the dungeon? Yeah.
No, something worth
Or you could
testing.
just bring a rogue and they could lockpick it.
Yeah, that's the only thing you're going to bring a rogue for anyway. So QT, what else have you been doing?
What else? The recipe thing actually took quite a while because there were so many different ones. Also, in classic content, there's a lot of different recipes, schematics, and stuff being added in Burning Crusade for the different professions when you have to level them at a lower level, for example, through crafting. What else? Then I've been testing some mage mechanics. It seems to be working really well. I found one bug with that was water elemental, like the animation, but else, that's about it.
Cool. Well, we're gonna dig into all of these in lots more detail soon, anyway. But so, Redzy, I mean, what have you been doing, and why did you delete your full tier 3 geared rogue when you killed one mob in Outland?
Don't say what? Who? No way. So I have been primarily testing what the experience is like when you do the 58 template boost, which at the moment is the best indicator or yardstick we have for what it will be like when you actually do the boost in proper. The stuff that they give you, it's pretty minuscule at the moment. The gear that they give you is not really well optimized on anything other than the hunter, and even that is still a bit of a stretch. So I've tested the paladin, mage, and hunter. Mage mana issues, paladin mana issues, and literally just can't do enough damage as Ret to fucking kill a hellbore. It's actually lay on hands situation. Hunter, no problem. Whatever the wolf pet is they give you, it's a fucking machine. And obviously you spec BM, 0 issues. And then today I also did testing on Classic right now with a level 52 hunter who hasn't learnt riding. I went and bought the mount from as a dwarf. I bought the dwarf mount, and then I got a gnome to buy me the gnome mount. And then I copied that over and I could learn both. No issues. I got the riding skill given to me straight away, and it became soulbound. So that was quite interesting.
And what level did you say you was?
52. So that was for the normal riding.
But I assume you'd already bought normal riding in Classic?
No.
So you didn't have any mount skill at all?
Nothing. No mount skill. Didn't learn it specifically so I could test it. And it works. You get given your riding skill 75 straight away when you copy it to BC. Later on in the week, I hope to be 60, and then I can test that with epic riding, but I don't expect there to be any different result, to be honest. So that's interesting. That's a way that people can get around not having to get the reputation for their mounts and save a bit of money on the riding skill and all that. You've seen videos about it. I think Scott did one as well.
Yeah, the only thing is that it's more, it's in my eyes anyway. It's more of a way to get a cross faction mount, or a cross race mount, because actually it's going to be more expensive to do that than it is to wait till TBC actually. But it'll be a good way if you wanted a lightsaber or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to pay the 1,000 gold.
Yeah, the lightsabers are looking like the biggest reason why you do it, I think.
Yeah.
That's most of the testing. Otherwise, I was with you on the character boosted Doom run in Ramparts, which I still get flashbacks about.
There was nothing wrong with that at all. We was doing it for testing purposes. So
flawless,
all right,
flawless.
But I mean, you've opened up a really good topic there anyway. So like, any of you, literally any of you, want to answer? Like, what do you think of the 58 boost? Like, as in, I don't mean I want to sit here and talk about whether it should be in the game or not. I mean, do you think it will be sort of the 58 beta boosts that we've been using, or do you think it's going to have better gear?
I think they already confirmed, I think, that they're going to improve the gear to like dungeon gear. Yeah.
Because I remember in the BlizzCon line announcement that they specifically mentioned it would be dungeon quality level gear, whereas what you get at the moment is just trash greens. So I would expect that the level of gear you get will be better. At the moment, you get given 2 gathering, I think, professions, and they both start at 1. You get cooking.
That's useful.
Starts at 1. You don't get first aid. So it's a bit of honestly, it's a bit of a mixed match. What's the point in giving you a profession if there's no boosted skill to it? You might as well not do that and then allow the player, the agency, to go and train the profession that they're actually interested in, instead of, oh, right, well, they give me herbalism, but I'm going to drop that and get mining anyway, so whatever. But
do you think it should be better gear? So loads of people in chat are saying, no, it'll be blue, it'll be dungeon gear, it'll be this, it'll be that. Should it be? Should the gear be better, or should you struggle? I mean, because really, just because you've boosted to 58 doesn't mean that you really should be going straight into Outland, because technically you shouldn't be starting Outland until 60 anyway. So should you start in rubbish green gear, and then you have to go and do some quests in, Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor?
Yeah, for me, the short answer for me is definitely yeah. Like, if they can make the gear just a little bit better, so that you didn't struggle too much on your questing experience if you did go out into Outland. But I think either way, you'll probably have a shit time. So the only way they get around that is if they gave you really good blue gear. And I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. You boost the character and straight away you feel kind of like a god, even though you're not at cap.
Yeah, I think you should struggle for a couple of levels. Yeah, I think you should potentially struggle for a bit. What do you think about it, QT?
Well, I'm like, does the gear really matter a lot? Because we'll most likely be able to boost the character before Burning Crusade. So with this gear, we would be able to do classic dungeons, and that way you could probably also get boosted in classic raids.
Writing that down, thanks, buddy. Test the boosted people.
But no, it's true. That's true.
That's.
I think we're looking at the boost all wrong. Really, we're looking at it as a boost to go straight into Outland. Where, as I say, you shouldn't really. Yes, you can get in Outland at 58, but the quests are not made for you to go there at 58. So I don't see why. And let's say you start with a full set of dungeon gear. What level dungeon gear? because it's not going to be level 60 dungeons. You know, you're not 60, so it shouldn't really be like Strat, Scolo. It shouldn't be that sort of gear. What, do you start in like BRD blues? I don't know.
I think BRD blues would be fucking generous, to be honest. I think that's probably that's the best that they should be given. And honestly, what Fake QT just said there is actually completely just like turned it on my head. I don't know. It's so obvious. Yeah, you shouldn't really be expecting to go into Outland with the boosted green gear or 58 gear, because you're getting that boost in pre-patch. So it's probably on par for you going and doing some dungeon runs, and then you get some blue gear and you still feel like you're getting some progression because you get an actual blue gear from BRD, Scottejaye, etc. Strat.
Yeah, I agree.
I imagine what I would expect is the like the dungeon set, like the level 54, 58, you know, blues that turn into mostly epic quality in the AQ if you do all the quests. So I think it'd be that blue set or the ranked up set where some of it's a little bit epic. But I think, on like certain servers in the past, it would be that kind of set. But I mean, fundamentally, I'm not a big fan of the boost, but I understand where it comes from, because how do you market a game where you start behind? Like, let's say you want to just play TBC. You're not a vanilla player, or you're learning about TBC in the marketing that's going out now for WoW. Like maybe you somehow missed Classic launching, yeah? And you like, oh, I want to play TBC. Starting at level 1 is a massive barrier to entry if you're not into the leveling aspect of the game. Yeah. So I do understand why there is a boost, but at the same time, it doesn't really sit that well with me. But if they're going to do it,
The thing is, I would kind of like to sit here and talk about it, but at the same time, I think that's like a 4-hour topic. Like it's a 4-hour can of worms anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think primarily the gear. I think the gear that you get given at the moment is ample enough for you. Because let's put it this way: when you boost, you're likely to be doing it because a friend has asked you. So you're at a level where that friend can take you on some adventures, and you can figure out your way on Azeroth. But you're not going to be able to go and stonk the DP. Like, you can't just roll a rep alley and think you're going to absolutely smash it, because you ain't.
Maybe they could do more of a recruit a friend thing. That's kind of like what I'm hearing you indirectly say. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Like I prefer that. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I've called for recruit a friend loads of times. I prefer recruit a friend to boosting personally, and it does actually gives benefits as well to
want to sell recruit a friend recruiting. 10k gold.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only downside I can see.
Yeah.
So the things, like I said, I'll touch on what I've been sort of testing. Which I was going to say,
Scott, what have you been testing, mate? What have you been up to?
I mean, I've got quite an extensive list of things, but I'll cover the main ones.
Scroll out.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me just so I don't forget anything. As I say, for me, the main one has been what's in, what's not in. As in what are we expecting in Phase 1, what are we not expecting in Phase 1. It's quite difficult to actually try and ascertain any of that on the way that they've actually implemented on like a 2. Well, it's not even 2.4.3, is it? It's 2.5. They've gone straight to, which a bit strange. But they've got NPCs in the game that shouldn't be in the game, but then also hint at certain things being in the game. So, for example, the Druid Epic Flight Form quest mob is there, which it didn't come until 2.1. So why is it in now? Surely they could add the NPC. What's the point of having an NPC stood there that does nothing? But we know, we should know for a fact that we're not going to get daily heroics and daily dungeons in Phase 1. I mean, I'm sure we can all agree on that's a bit of a catch-up mechanic. But the daily heroic guy is there, and he needs to be there because he does other quests as well. It's not just a daily heroic. But a daily dungeon NPC is there as well, and he does nothing else. All he does is give out the daily dungeon. So I don't really like the way they've got like NPCs in that potentially might be doing nothing. I think it's a bit misleading. So it's a bit hard to work out what's going to be.
They weren't in the game originally.
No, exactly. So they should be added.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things in the game that shouldn't be in there if it's 2.0, if it's launch.
Yeah, but does it mean that they are actually going to be there? That's what I mean. I'm sort of playing devil's advocate and going, well,
Yeah.
you've got 2 NPCs, and this is just what I've found. So you've got the NPC for Epic Flight Form. It's there, so maybe we can do the quest. You've got the daily dungeon NPC there. Maybe we are getting a daily dungeons and daily heroics. It would be ludicrous if we did, but...
Yeah, that's terrible if we do.
It would be. But so I've been doing that. I've been wandering around trying to find out what you can and what you can't get. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is moat extracting, which I've got the quest now to actually get the moat extractor. But again, that's in the game, whereas I believe that didn't come in until 2.1, something like that. Wasn't in at launch.
It was in game from launch, but you got lives in Zanga, not waters, and you also you couldn't get airs in Nagrand until 2.3, and I've seen people getting airs.
That's
on
right.
stream.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've not actually made it yet. I've not actually made it, but I'm going to give it a go. But as I say, the main thing for me, what I've been testing is solo stealth farming dungeons, which I can do at 64. I have problems because I'm a druid. As a rogue at 64, you're going to have no issues whatsoever. But Mana Tombs, for example, it's abundant with ancient lichen or lichen, depending where you're from, what you want to call it. You're getting 2 mines per run, and it seems really, really high on getting rich adamantite as well. As in, I would say like every other one's rich adamantite. Not seen corium in there yet, but there is. You will get corium.
With mining, are you seeing a lot of motes of fire?
Loads.
There are meant to be motes of fire. As far as I'm concerned, it's okay, the quantity you get.
Yeah, I've been getting
okay.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3
But
motes of
I'm
earth
not
and
like
fire.
a definitive source on the drop rate of mote of fire by any means.
I was just wondering how prominent it was, like the amount that you got or how regularly you got them, because
All my
bots, man.
materials are on my banker, so I could actually just look and see the ratio of bars to
How many you got?
Yeah, motes.
Yeah.
I'm averaging, a mote of each minimum pretty much every mine. And some of them you get 2 or 3. It's quite high.
I'd say 1 per.
But
Maybe
yeah,
a little bit high. I don't know. I'd expect like 0.8 to get into the decimals.
We'll go with 0.8.
Not quite 1 every time.
You get a little bit of a moat, but not quite.
Most likely to get maybe 0.82. Come to think of it,
a push. But no, I would personally say, based on what I've seen from mining and how many mines there actually are as well, and the respawn timers, I think Primal Earth is always going to be the cheapest, or one of the cheapest, probably alongside Primal Shadows. But fire, I don't think is going to be that expensive.
Have you struggled with the quantity of veins you've seen, of the deposits in the world?
I haven't personally.
Okay, because I think
it's only
early on they were low, and I think they may have already been increased. So
I ran around for a bit earlier. It weren't bad.
Oh, okay. Because I think originally it was quite bad. So there are things being changed quite frequently. So
the main problem I found.
Anyone if
the main problem I found was there was loads of corium because no one could mine it.
Oh,
so
yeah, okay.
When the fell iron deposits are respawning and they're respawning as corium, you run round and for every 1 fell iron you see 2 corium.
Okay, I didn't see any corium when I was in Hellfire a few days ago, but it's interesting how, you're mining today and I was mining like 2 days ago. It's interesting how it it changes and evolves. But yeah, I mean that's completely understandable.
Yeah, but so far anyway, stealth farming, I do. All right, yeah, people are going to say that it will be rife with bots, but it's going to be a decent way of making gold, and I'm looking forward to actually testing BM for the Spider Silk as well and seeing sort of what the drop rates on those are. But I'd say probably there's a few interesting ones that people have been sort of shouting out about, which is like the Fell Spirits quest. According to private server databases, it's giving motes of fire, and you can more or less unlimited farm them. That's not a thing. I've tested that quest. What are the other quite big ones? The big ones I really want to start looking at is actually threat related. But that's going to be a lot easier to test when we've actually got add-ons.
Yeah.
But the dailies, is another interesting one. Yeah, I mean, you got to feel sorry for everyone who's stacked up Zolgurub coins and, the ones who have been preparing their Draneyes and Blood Elves with loads of wastewater pouches and bloody troll tusks and troll necklaces.
Yeah, they're all
None of it's going to sell.
I'd buy if they're cheap. I'll buy them. There's still a use for them. Wink, wink. I'm not going to say, but maybe I've said too much.
What?
There's still a use for them.
Which
I can't
ones?
say. The guild will kill me.
Yeah, but what are you talking about in particular out of all the ones I just listed?
I've said too much, but no, there are some uses that can be used for them.
All right, okay.
I'm gonna get castrated saying that. But yeah,
There is interested.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's all right because it's not XP, so that's all that matters. We're only bothered about getting XP from him. So
there's actually a way to get like around 40 to 50 quests ready for Burning Crusade.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get absolutely roasted by my girl.
Yeah. Listen, guys, somebody's looking for a new guild now.
Yeah, exactly.
What you were talking about there, Fake QT, I assume you're talking about abusing the item restore tool.
No.
Oh.
It's no bullshit. Yeah, I'm working on preparing a lot of stuff right now. That's actually one thing I didn't mention on beta. I've been testing different stuff. Like right now, I have 30 quests ready. You can have 20 in your quest log, but yeah, there's other ways to have like 40 to 50 ready. And so far, I've managed to get to like
the quest.
Yeah, exactly. And so far, I've managed to get to like 75% in level 60. So I just need to prepare a few more, and I should be able to hit 61 in like 20-30 minutes or something.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, the things like Heart of Hakkar on his head. I assume they're the sort of items you're talking about.
Yeah, Kafun, all those AQ. Yeah. Those. There's a lot of those. Not only from raids, and there's a lot of open worlds. So I'm trying to find all the ones I can, and then I'll probably make a guide at some point so everyone can prepare 40 to 50 quests. But it takes a lot of time, and also a lot of testing on beta to see if it actually gives experience and stuff.
Yeah, in chat, when's the video dropping, Fake QT, where all this information is coming out?
We can all do it.
After release.
After he's done
World first Fake QT, how to get the video, how to level to 70. Oh, great.
So let's talk about...
Meanwhile, I'm wiping in ramparts.
While he's 63. And you're doing your first ramparts run. So around the table, so we'll start with Redzi. Have you seen any bugs? Reported any bugs? What are probably the most the biggest bugs that you have reported? Because it's all right us talking about what we've learned, as in, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make loads of gold. But the point of beta testing is actually testing to fix things that are broke. So I think that's quite important as well.
So a few things that I've come across. I came across one offline in the old world, and that was in Stranglethorn Vale, just like a random mob. But then the same thing happened today on stream as I was testing the Scottejaye starting area. There are some mobs that can just clip through the floor. You can get stuck in combat with them, and you won't be able to escape combat. So obviously report those because they shouldn't be just falling through the ground. There were some mobs that once you try and hit them with a ranged spell, it wouldn't come up with entering combat. They wouldn't take any damage, and you would still expend your mana, and it would still show their damage number of them receiving damage, but no HP change whatsoever. So reporting those as well. I'm trying to think of another big one really, but I'll have to probably come back to you if it pops back in my head.
All right. TSW, any reporting you've done, or do you want all the bugs in so you can abuse them?
Well, I'm abusing one right now. So expertise is the new stat in TBC. Originally released in patch 2.3 with Zulaman. It replaces weapon skill, and you get expertise rating that obviously scales as you change level in TBC, like hit rating and crit rating. Currently in the beta, you're just given flat expertise. So I'm wearing an item that is meant to have 14 expertise rating, and that should be about 4 expertise. It's just straight up giving me 14 expertise. So I'm getting like 3 plus times the value out of these items. So I'm basically at expertise soft cap wearing one item as a human. So that's really fun. So whilst doing these dungeons 4 or 5 levels lower, at least I'm not getting dodges. Like dodges are practically removed from the combat table, so that's nice. Because when you're leveling, particularly like even in like a dungeon, you're at an appropriate level for your hit caps. That's great, everything's nice, but you're still getting dodges and parries, and expertise is what removes those or lessens the chance. And with getting so much expertise so easily, you're actually able to hit the mobs.
Have you reported that?
I'm trying to get an Edge Masters copied over from live to absolutely abuse it, and then I'll be reporting it. But yeah, obviously I'm going to reply. I've reported like close to 30 bugs so far. I've done 2 reports at least since we've been on the podcast so far.
Oh wow, okay. QT, have you reported anything? I know obviously you're abusing gate mechanics, but
yeah, I've reported like 7 bugs so far or something. But yeah, actually there's one thing I need to test, and that's you can buy the mountain in classic and it's bind on equip. So when you use it or bind on use, but I'm like, I haven't used my money or gold yet on this, but I wonder if you can buy the mount and you can get this Christmas wrap where you can store the pets in these, or you can store stuff in it. So I'm wondering if you can actually buy these mounts in classic, you can wrap them, and then in Burning Crusade you can actually sell the mounts because they're in these. So like stuff like that, that's what I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out like all these a bit sketchy stuff, but yeah.
That's some big brain 5,000 IQ move there. Wrap the motherfuckers. I like it.
I like that.
Get your mount wrapped.
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, that's the kind of bug testing I'm trying out. I'm not doing dungeons like most of the people AoE farming dungeons because there's no AoE cap right now. So yeah, stuff like that. I'm trying to actually abuse everything I can think of and then report everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, mine's fairly similar. I've reported loads. I wouldn't say this is why I don't think it's far off ready. Yeah, I don't think it's actually that far off a polished product because the ones I've reported are fairly minor. I mean, like the key ring not actually holding keys. A couple of them was fixed already with like the jumping where you see you get DC'd if you jump while you're CC'd. Yeah, that was annoying. Some textures. But animations, but there's nothing where it's like, oh, this is game breaking. Not that I've found so far, anyway.
You just reminded me of one that I've found a few items has happened for. This primarily happened when I was trying to play as a Ret Paladin on the boosted gear and getting smashed by fucking level 60 Hellboars. But you live and forget, hopefully. But quest items that are attached specifically to a quest that you need to use, like in Hellfire Peninsula, one of the first quests you get is to go and burn the 4 Horde towers, or you get the equivalent, I think, for if you Horde for Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
If you die when you've got that torch in your bag, you have to go get the torch again.
Oh, really?
Which I find has happened for a couple of other things. That's the one that I can specifically remember the quest and the item itself for. But yeah, there are a few instances where you just lose the thing and you go out and you're like, all right, I've spent 25, 30 minutes trying to fucking do the quest. Why is it not? Oh, I don't have the item. Okay, well.
Is this on the hand-in you notice sometimes, or just watch your midway through?
Just midway through.
Okay. Because because a lot of quests, like if you put the quest item in your bank, you can't finish the quest because you don't have the item on you. It would really suck and be very demoralizing if you've completed the objective, died on the way back to handing in the quest, and then it's removed. Like that would be.
And then you got to drop the quest and then get it back to get the item again. Oh mate, the rage, the that'd be very.
Well, it's a good job that it's you doing it and not 1,000 people in Hellfire on your server day one.
Yeah, imagine day 1, 1,000 people wipe on a fucking Hellboar.
You just you'd see there wouldn't be much of a queue because everyone's just logged off at that point. Oh wait, I expected a queue on day 1 TBC. Everyone's playing something else.
So while we're talking about bugs, I mean, there's things that are obviously not quite right that you've probably seen advertised quite heavily around. So like the melee leeway with Taurens hitting through pillars. Mechanical keyboard is real there, Reds.
Sorry, bro. My bad.
What are you? I mean, that's clearly a bug, and it's clearly not really a bug. Actually, it is technically intended, but are we assuming that something's going to change there, or arenas are just going to be completely gimped?
They've got to change that, haven't they?
Have you all seen that? I know you have,
Oh yeah,
Reds.
hitting from the bottom of the bridge in Blade's Edge Mountains Arena. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can also do it through the graveyards in Ruins of Lordaeron. You can do it on one spot in every arena map.
Yeah,
What do you mean by the graveyard? Sorry. Oh, the center piece.
Yeah, the centerpiece.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just like roll, Tauren, hit through wall, get Gladiator.
Play Tauren Druid, get hit through wall. Don't get Gladiator. Can't drink, stay in combat. Yeah. Warriors,
exactly.
woohoo! Druids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what?
Somebody shared on my stream earlier a clip from Stay Safe where he was doing some warlock testing in slave pens, and he jumped down to escape. And I mean, like, when I say down, he was almost at the ground level, from top level all the way to the ground level in slave pens. And he ran underneath the mobs where they would be, and they killed him from over 30 yards. It's got to be 50. They leewayed him.
I know when
that's
you're boosting Maradon, they will hit you if you're going under the
floor.
cave.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I'm
that's
talking,
not that length. Yeah.
Take that length, times it by 6.
Yeah.
They leewayed him from there downwards. They were.
Yeah, it's not cool. That's not cool.
Now
So-
that you're actually talking about, I hope this is okay, Scotty, that I like tried to bring up a new topic, but we're actually talking about slave pens, for example.
Yeah, go on, mate.
How do you feel about the pathing? I know this is like how it used to be, the pathing where you can jump and stuff, and all of a sudden the monsters will run, 5 minutes in order to reach you. And I feel like this is so stupid. It's been a thing in Classic, yeah, but when you have to do heroics in the beginning, and if this is going to be doable in raids as well, I just feel like it's so weird that the pathing is like the way it is. I don't know, it just feels so... It's so easy. Like yesterday, we were 2 mages, we could solo bosses in dungeons by, jumping on different things because the bosses couldn't reach us, but they didn't evade.
Yeah,
it
it needs changing. We don't want that again. Like you say, we've had it all through TBC, all through Classic. We don't want that in TBC. And I said that in the latest video that I just don't want to see. I don't mind certain classes, including mages, being able to solo things. For like solo farms. I definitely don't want to see boosting, like mage boosting in TBC. And I feel that that's sort of the way it would end up going when you can solo so many packs. But you got to remember, the pathing, is terrible. That should be easy to fix, although they'll probably ignore it and just let it happen. But the AoE cap's not in on beta yet. So when you're watching these mages do all these ridiculous pulls, it's
How useful is it?
Yeah, exactly. Until that's in, we don't know.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about AoE. I'm more talking about the safe spots, because you don't need a tank in heroics if you do this way. It's not about like the overall AoE cap. It's more about like how you can place yourself in a dungeon without getting hit. So that way you could go in 2-man everything if you know the right spots.
Yeah, I think things like safe spots, they should be removed, because the entire purpose of the game is that you go into a dungeon which is hostile to you and it's a challenge. So, if you want to be a dick about the fact it's an RPG, it is. And you got to go in and fight them. They don't like you. They don't want you there. And especially when a dungeon like that, say a dungeon that has key ties to the achievement process for Karazhan or anything else, it can fundamentally break the entire wheel that you're supposed to be turning. And if it just means it circumvents the game, what's the point?
You'll get
learn.
mages boosting you, but mages will be boosting you to the heroic quest giver for tier 5 achievement in slave pens.
I can understand where, like, I suppose I can understand why it stayed the same for the entirety of the life cycle of Classic. But let's get these things fixed, I think, because I think fundamentally that is not like in the drums post. They're talking about game design. Like game design intent
spirit of
and
classic.
Exactly.
The spirit,
like
and it's not.
this is not in that world. Like it doesn't even come close.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
But then let's be real. So how many of these mages that are soloing slave pens and doing these big pulls and getting free 400,000 XP an hour, how many have reported it as a bug?
Yeah, good question.
I guarantee none. And is it? Would we say that that's intended? Would we say it's intended for any class really to be able to solo level 70? Well, not level 70, but equal or higher level dungeons. It's not. It's clearly a bug. It shouldn't be there. Whether it's a bug or an exploit or whatever you want to call it,
It's not game intent. It's not game design intent. So therefore, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. So
that's what I was
it's
gonna
just,
say.
Not necessarily. It shouldn't always be possible as a rule against the whole game. But that is. I mean, they let it happen for classic.
yeah.
Yeah,
But don't lay down for
I think,
TBC.
to be fair, that's the kind of thing. Is like the key here is to learn the mistakes from classic, to learn where you went wrong and not repeat it. Don't do the same missteps. That's where I think, just get rid of the save spots, get rid of that, like the pathing thing, fix it in a way that doesn't make it so that it's like, because obviously, I think that's a little bit of a gray area. It's semi useful when you want to kite, but like if you're able to break a dungeon by just absolutely fucking with it like that, I think then it goes to the point where it's abuse instead of clever use of game mechanics.
Yeah, well, I think, look, if a mage gets to 70, does all the raids, you're talking they're now in, let's not even say all the raids, let's just say they're in full tier 5 gear. They've got really, really decent gear, and then they could physically kite mobs in a dungeon and solo them without using safe spots or reset areas or anything like that. They're just running around, grabbing 10, 12 mobs, and then AoEing them down and kiting them throughout the instance. There's nothing wrong with that. But should you be able to do that?
Comparison.
There's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. You've gone out, you've gone and got your gear, and now you can solo things that are 8 to 9 levels lower than you. Your gear power, your character power is so much higher than that. But if you need to go and jump up on top of bloody ridges and then let them run round, then jump back down, and then they follow you, and then they run round again. That needs changing. They should get rid of all
not game
save spots.
intent. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, we spoke about that probably a bit longer than we should, but it is clearly something that we all feel.
It will
quite
have a
passionately
massive
about.
impact on the duration of TBC. It'll be just you won't level 60 to 70. You'll just pay a mage 5k gold or whatever, and he'll get you to level 70.
Yeah, and it's only slave pens we've seen. I have tried thinking about what other dungeons it could be done in. And
we've won the world boss meta, and we are trying to win the boosting in dungeons by line of sight and pathing meta.
it needs to be squashed, but we'll see. But
Or at least
again,
give feedback from Blizzard. Tell us what your intent is. Is this your intent? In which case, fine, whatever. But if more communication.
absolutely.
Where does Blizzard stand on this? We know where the majors stand, jumping left and right on the freaking object.
Jumping up and down
honest,
and being able to get 400,000 XP an
that
hour.
point about where does Blizzard stand on this is where I think the great potential for catastrophe lies for TBC Classic. Is that they say that they want to preserve the spirit and all that kind of thing, and in their BlizzCon thing announcement, which is pre-recorded, so they know what they're saying. They've already someone wrote that shit out and they read it and meant it.
Take
and then they go
27.
And then
action.
they go and completely miss the point on drums. It's just like, if there's going to be a failure to understand and learn from your mistakes, embrace the community that has driven you to the point where it's made this dead game of yours incredibly profitable for you. Just listen to the people who want to play the game and give you the money to play the game. It's not that complicated.
But I mean, just to shout out Snee in Twitch chat. Now I know he's a mage and I know he sells boosts. Saying people complaining about the boosting meta but still buy boosts. Lol.
Same reason you get war buffs. Don't like it, but
Yeah, but you do it,
you're gonna
and
get
I mentioned it in the latest video. I don't agree with the 58 boost, but I'll buy one. I don't agree with WoW tokens, but if it was illegal way of buying gold, I'll buy one. I don't agree with the price that pubs charge for double gin and tonics, like nearly 11 quid. But I still go and buy them. It don't mean I don't go to the pub just because I don't agree with how much they're charging me. I'm an idiot. So
And we still watch you.
We can't
Exactly.
use that. We can't use that as an excuse. That you can complain about something and still bow down to it. It's as simple as that. We do it with the government every single day, but it's not a political conversation. So, moving on. Thank you for the prime beef. So, moving on.
Wait, prime sub beef or prime beef as in you just got a nice bit of beef there?
I've just got a prime bit of beef there.
Prime
Bit of beef from beef. Oh yeah, you know that.
Douche.
So, let's move on from the whole major boosting meta. Is there anything that you think, and I'm going to start with TSW because you've been around the block. Not on private servers. You wouldn't have done that, but let's pretend that you have. Like hypothetically speaking, let's say you got all your information from Sam.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sure. Oh, scumbag. I hate him.
yeah, taking money out of
Don't
business
give him
pockets.
beta. Oh my god, dude. Not deserved.
Is there any meta shifts that you can see coming? And I want us all to name one. So we know the whole Warlock Hunter meta. We there is no world buff meta, but there are world buffs. Is there any meta that you see coming that nobody else has currently seen coming?
I mean, it depends. Like, when you say no one, like the average player, like some people know stuff, and they're keeping it hush hush. So some people know, and then it's like, does the general public know? That's the other side of the coin. I mean, yes. I mean, yeah, there'll always be stuff that the top players are trying to exploit and abuse, whether it's on the beta, whether it's on live. People, like it or not, you will see top guilds going for any edge they can get every single step of the way, because that's how they approach the game. They don't play the game to kill the boss. The goal of the game is to absolutely destroy the boss. Like, if you could take 0 points of damage fighting that boss, that's what they would strive to do. They don't just want to do the basic accomplishment. They want to absolutely perfect the game as much as they can. Min-maxing is how they get enjoyment out of the game. So yes, there will be absolute min-maxing in the same way we saw Classic. But obviously things like world buffs, that was more widely adopted. And I think as time goes by, week after week after, the raids start getting cleared and people are discovering, oh, look at this guy's, he's got this buff. With Warcraft logs, the meta and the min-maxing just happens so quickly because of the ease of information flowing back and forth. So it'll turn into Classic in terms of the min-maxing, just because that's what that's what people want. That's what the top players do. And how do you get loot in the game? Most people are driven in the game by loot. How do you get loot in the game? You do more damage than your other warlocks. And all of this, like, if you can go out in the world and get an item, or engineering for grenades or leatherworking, people will do it because that's how you stand out amongst the rest. So and people want to be that unique snowflake, number one on the damage, or 99 pass or whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. So a topic that everybody's going to hate if you say yes, but your general sort of feeling on it. Do you think there's going to be world buffs in TBC?
No, hasn't Blizzard said that 63 is the highest level you can get world buffs?
They have, yeah.
That's the highest they've said that you can get classic world buffs, but there are actually, whether
yes,
you class them as world buffs or individual buffs, there's a lot of buffs that you can still get.
A hashtag some changes, just remove every buff on you once you enter a raid portal, or maybe even a 5-man portal as well, just to set the bar as being, okay, your character has effectively been not reset, but standardized, let's say. Because then you can have things like Warcraft logs obviously does the speed running and the clearing for raids. I'd love to see it for 5-mans as well, and a filter to say, because obviously like Prop Paladin is expected to be insane in the 5-mans. I'd like to do a filter to say like a warrior tank or someone or no paladin tank, you know. So I've got a chance to do some good speed runs and times where I'm not being compared to a paladin, and that only works, you know. I mean, it works a lot better if you can't run in with these world buffs in quotation marks. You know, like getting MC mobs for buffs, you know, killing certain mobs, getting certain debuffs that are beneficial for you, and just starting the run with every little thing you can get. Like for me, in order to have a competitive game, like when I don't know, if you're running 100 meters on the Olympics or something, you don't have one guy running, you know, in a swimming pool and another guy running, you know, on tarmac and another guy running in custard. Like it's a very level playing field. And when you have things like world buffs being added, you just add this extra layer of, like, it's a layer of complexity that people can enjoy, but at the same time, it's like, for the most part, we've seen with Classic that the vast majority of people are against it. And I think that, yeah, we should, like, it shouldn't really be a thing. In my opinion, I mean,
the one I'm interested in, I know of several, and I'm not going to sit here and put people off with world buffs, because I know of probably 6 or 7 buffs that you can get and take into a raid at level 70. But what about, and you've been around the block now, it's my understanding that they work, but the Zangarmarsh, the Twin Spire buff, 5% damage, that should work in SSC. The same way the Hellfire Fortification buff should work in Magtheridon. Can you confirm that works on everything you've played?
The Magtheridon one has in the past. I'm less confident on the Twin Spire Blessing in Zangarmarsh.
So let's
I imagine
stick
if
with
the Hellfire one does, then the Zanga one would as well, you'd expect.
Yeah, it's a 5% flat damage buff across Zangarmarsh. I've not looked at it for a while, but I'm sure it classes the dungeons and SSC as Zangarmarsh. You know, it's all in one. Yeah. Well, it is all in one zone. Do you know what I mean? So let's say that was. We're going to be able to test that soon enough anyway. Could you see second raid teams, or, you know, let's say you've got a guild of 25. You'll have raid teams fighting to hold that for their main raid.
Yes. But like but in a way, it could have really fun consequences if you're raiding on reset day and you've got a Horde guild and Alliance guild both raiding, and you can have their PvP teams battling out, trying to give them the better uptime on the buff. That I see being very fun and very cool. That's kind of like an outlet. Like right now in WoW Classic, the outlet is griefing people or purging people for world buffs, and I do like that as that's a Blizzard manufactured PvP event to do the towers. That's cool. I really like that as an idea. And yeah, people will totally do that for these buffs. Absolutely. Like,
but then should it count on Warcraft logs? That's my probably point, because because you've got one raid
you're
team,
doing a run, like you could get griefed by people on your own faction and just get the towers to stop your log. Like, what do you do if, you know, like you can't? That's not something you can necessarily control.
I mean, speaking of faction imbalance will definitely come into a play there, and there'll be absolute raging that we can never get the buff and therefore never pass high on logs because there's way too many X over Y.
Or you just end up doing your pass at 3 a.m. somehow and get people to log on.
And you've also got to remember that when you look I hope I don't sound like I'm overstating its importance, but when you look at world buffs in Classic today, you know, they are diminishing world buffs, as in they give you a static amount. That's it. So as your gear gets better, they're still relevant, don't get me wrong, but they become less relevant. You know, it's not a scaling thing.
You could be a pre-raid geared warrior in blues and greens with world buffs, and you would replace a guy in like Nax gear if you're doing Nax just because of world buffs. Like, you're there as a world buff character, not as a, you know, Thunder Fury character or like a whatever character. You know, you're a world buff boy. But the gain is always the same. So when you're doing SSC for the first week, that 5% damage buff is probably not that big. You give that 5% damage buff to a glaive rogue, all of a sudden, you know, your clear time in SSC is going to go through the roof when you're fully, you know, geared. I'm talking now speed running. You know, you're fully geared people getting that extra, because it's just 5% damage. I think that's quite a dangerous way to buff people, if I'm honest with you.
and especially
think
with
it's
some of the
fun.
other things you can get.
As a warrior, where a lot of my stuff doesn't scale, as a prop warrior, it's kind of sad. Like I like stuff that does scale because it keeps it like being pre-raid, it's useful, and being like best in slot somewhat gear, it's useful. I kind of like because then the buff isn't stagnant. And I mean, obviously, there's two sides here. Like you're wanting it to be something that's static, and that's a fair argument. But I like it where the buff follows you and progresses with you. It feels like more of a useful buff. But at the same time, if it's too powerful and scales with you, like certain class mechanics, then yeah, that can be frustrating. And in which case, I am on your side if that's the case.
It's nothing about sides, by the way. I'm all for it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean,
I'm actually all for. I'm playing devil's advocate. Exactly. I'm all for the Twin Spire buff. I'm all for the Hellfire Fortification one as well. I think it does add spice, and I think it will change week for week. You're never going to be able to guarantee that your raid is going to have that. You can guarantee, without being griefed, that you're going to go in well buffed. But let's face it, you could fight for those towers, and get those towers before you go into a raid. What's the cooldown? Because I'm sure... No, actually, I think it's rolling all the time, isn't it? So technically, you could step away from those towers and then, you fight for them for 10 minutes before the raid, you get them, and then by the time you run to the raid, the other factions took them over and youve lost it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you could be prepped, ready to log in, and someone's just taken off. The only one that has a cooldown...
Terakar,
absolutely Terakar, and I'm not sure about Nagrand, because there aren't any dungeons in Nagrand.
The Terakar one definitely is on a timer, and that's where I was just sort of confusing myself because I was thinking about the Terakar one. But I think it does add a little bit of flair to it, and I'd rather that than world buffs.
Yeah, I think that Blizzard should maybe almost, like, at least consider doubling down on that as being like a PvP world outlet. People say that, world PvP is going to be dead in TBC, and yeah, they're pretty much on the mark there. But at the same time, if we're doing this min-max culture where we're wanting these zone-wide buffs that affect the raids and dungeons inside, like, by all means, like, any raiding guild are going to have people sat on those towers making sure that they are maintained. Because if you think about it, if you've got 5, like, say you're a 25-man raid and you've got 5 PvPers sat outside, those 5 PvPers are effectively damage in your raid, even though they're stood outside. Like, they can be some of the most valuable players in your raid, even though they're not even in with you. Just rotate them out next week and get 5 more people having towers and be like, yeah, you did such a good job beating those, you 5v10'd those opposite faction guys. Like, you did really well. Have some loot, this week you're in. As the potential.
So the other one I know about, just while we're on these, is it's a bit like War Chief's Blessing, but Hell Scream's War Song in Nagrand.
It's identical. Yeah. Buff wise.
I mean, what do you... I know that's quite a hefty sort of quest chain. Well, I mean, it's no heftier than the bloody Alcatraz Key quest, for example, but do you think that could potentially be the entrance of the world buff meta? Because, I mean, it's a big buff, but again, to my understanding, I've not looked at it for a good couple of months, but I thought it was meant to leave your character when you left Nagrand.
So I'm not sure about that 100%. But
me neither. It's just something I remember reading, but I can't remember whether it was
on these hypothetical servers. It would end if you entered a raid at least. I don't know if that was. Yeah, but I hope that it would be as well. Because if not, get your mind control caps out alliance, because that's a horde only buff.
Oh, yeah.
And that also, like, that segregation in, like, the buffing meta is also very unfair. I think it's just plain unfair to give one side a buff much more accessibly than another.
Yeah, I'm hoping they've learned from it. I didn't actually want this to turn into a world buff discussion, but
sorry.
It wasn't my intention. But it is when you actually start thinking about it.
Just talking about world buffs, Jeez.
I mean, it's interesting.
Down your drink if we talk about world buffs.
Well, no one likes world buffs, do they? Everyone wants to see them gone. So I have to be I have to play devil's advocate and maybe think, well, some of them might be in, but it just won't be as bad as it used to be. And unfortunately, that's the truth. Is there anything else? I mean, I said I wanted to keep this to about an hour and a half, so we've probably got another 10, 15 minutes comfortably. Is there anything else that any of you boys have found on the beta so far that you really, it's important, you need to talk about it? Because if not, I've got loads.
I mean,
Yeah,
this isn't something that's huge or important, and I didn't discover it myself, but I think it's semi-important in terms of just providing at least still that sense of discovery, excitement, and you never know what someone else might come up with. So Aurelius, the mage who does a shitload of boosting, he discovered that the Shaman talent, Mental Quickness, that reduces the mana cost of your instant cast Shaman spells by 6% and increases your spell damage and healing by an amount equal to 30% of your attack power, scales 1-to-1, and he tested it with dual Hikari Manslayers, which had like the lifesteal effect. Some very interesting shit coming out of there. So it's just like small things like that where it could just be a detail that's flown under the radar that suddenly can change the meta. For all you know, you might actually have one enhancement shaman who is just fucking absolutely decked out with stacking attack power, and has got some really strange weapons that you don't expect him to be using, and he's doing some absolute stonks DPS. Like just things like that, I think.
Well, that's actually age old.
Inventive.
So the Hikari Manslayers always had a 1-to-1 spell coefficient. So yeah, I was expecting.
I mean, like just the fact that it can scale with that talent, just things like that, where
it's just
people
ridiculous.
Can come up with new out of the box shit, and for all you know, it doesn't work, or it's useful for a bit, and then no, tier 5, it's useless. You should do this. Just hopefully the meta being shaken up a little bit instead of, all right, boys, we've done the spreadsheets, we know the game. Okay, yeah, but it would be nice if we could figure out some new shit too.
Yeah, so Space Marines just said he can confirm in vanilla that it's 1-for-1. It's been it's always been 1-for-1. So that's going to be the rise of the spell power rogue. You heard it. You didn't hear it here first. It was actually that's Meta Goblin's best spec. So swiftly moving on. TSW, tell us something else that you've learned. Let's all. We've all learnt so much on the beta. It would be a crime not to share. So
I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I just want to reiterate about the tuning, because I don't care about any of the bugs really that I've seen compared to the tuning of the content. I want it's something that Blizzard have mentioned pre-nerf, and I just want to get into the raids and to give my feedback on because they've alluded to potentially changing the tuning as time goes by, and my suggestion is if you're going to have tier 4 for 5 months, let's say, every month just tweak the values or the frequency of certain mechanics, and it keeps the game fresh. It means that your DBM isn't necessarily holding your hand the entire time, and you can just it means that you're always killing the boss as your progress kill on the hardest difficulty that your guild can. For example, if you what I always say is you want to have not necessarily half the guild dead, but really be pushing your guild to the limit when you're killing the boss, and just let people have more than 4 hours progress.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
The tuning, it all comes there's a PvE player. It all comes down to inside what happens inside the dungeon is what matters for me as a raider.
To play devil's advocate, do you think that that's going to turn off a lot of players from Classic who will then come over to TBC?
Yeah, the issue is
find the difficulty wall, or it's just not what they expect. It's not what they're used to, that kind of thing. There's so many 1 day a week Nax guilds, and as soon as TBC hits, if it's challenging and they need to raid 3 days a week, whoa, I can't raid 3 days a week. Yeah,
you
exactly.
Crazy?
Yeah. Whoa, no, I didn't agree that with the wife. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully they've cloned their characters, then they can go back to Classic.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
No, tuning. I think it'll be interesting if they do. If
it makes or breaks the experience for me.
Yeah. Just quickly, do you mean like a sliding difficulty? So the challenge is always, it's ever present instead of you're over that hurdle.
Yeah, for example,
that's interesting.
You could increase the damage of Magtheridon's AoE. You could increase the frequency of Gruul's growth, so that there is a damage requirement.
To each established encounter.
And week by week or month by month, they just get slowly reduced in their difficulty, so that so that the you can make them almost impossible, and these top guilds will probably still kill them because they have so many consumes stacked, and they're just ready to go in and blow everything they have into that boss.
And they use fake UT's clip hacks, so they just go
exactly. I think Blizzard underestimates a lot of the community, and they obviously tailor the game to the average player, which is fine. The game wouldn't exist if it was made for the top 1% players. I appreciate that. But at the same time, give us that sliding scale. Like, I don't think that every player in the game deserves to clear tier 4 content in their first, week or two. Like,
no, definitely
have content be unkilled. Like, that's not a bad thing. Like in the in the naughty servers, you would like the server is thriving, like the economy's thriving so much more when there are unkilled bosses in the world. It's like you're changing, like you're potentially recruiting people is going crazy. Like every hour you spend in game matters, whether it's recruiting people, farming consumes, talking about tactics, thinking about we need to get this guy leveled up because he's going to be our new moonkin because our current one sucks. And it just has this like the MMO feel is there. Like you're just absolutely things matter, and in classic things
in the
matter
culture
less, maybe.
aspect rises to the surface a lot more when the difficulty is prevalent and people need to band together to do it instead of looking for Pug to face roll this.
Yeah, an unenchanted, ungemmed raid full of scrubs.
I'm sorry, Scott, I'm completely derailing the questions.
No. But you're absolutely right, and you're saying the things that people are going to want to hear, and what people want at the end of the day, because we all want challenging content. And what you said really there when you said it doesn't matter, make it impossible for the first couple of weeks. It slowly gets easier over time.
1 week of stupidly insane content, there will be some bosses that drop. And who's going to be level 70 week 1? The sweaties. Give them sweaty content for week 1. No one will mind.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's those top 1% guilds who they'll have a different raid comp for every boss because they'll have the numbers. So using Grawl, you said about growth. Let's say they had to stack 20 warriors. They'll have 20 warriors to bring into the raid. That's the difference. The average raid won't.
If Magtheridon favours range casters, make the sweaties relog onto their warlocks and level them from 60. Like, give the sweaties sweaty content for week 1 or whatever, and let the other people just level up whatever they want. And by week 2, it's way more flexible on class composition or stacking. Like, have stacking not necessarily be a thing in month 2, because again, it's slid down to something that's more reasonable. And maybe by the 3rd month, you start to see people pugging it on a regular basis. That's completely fine.
Yeah. Just see it progress over time
for everybody instead of.
But this is like #massive some changes,
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, I like your dream. We know it's not going to happen, and we know all tier 4 raid content is going to be cleared in the first week by basically a guild full of anybody who's got 2 hands. That's it, really. But all right. So moving on from that derailed conversation by TSW.
Sorry. I'll mute myself.
Yeah. So, QT, what do you like about Wrath of the Lich King? Oh, no, hang on. That wasn't the question. Sorry, that wasn't the question. Did you find anything else out in the beta that you want to share with the group?
I tried to test dual crafting. I don't know if you did it yourself as well, Scotty.
I haven't had time. I've got all the stuff that you let me copy over, but...
Yeah, but I tried to prospect all the different ores, and if we compare it to some other places, it seems like it's actually slightly worse in the beta compared to other places. Like you seems to be getting less gems, and also I've been researching, and some people claim you can get to like 1 to 2 additional gems, but on beta I've only been able to get 1 additional gem. So this is it's actually really huge, because before I was actually counting on getting 1 extra gem, 2 extra gems sometimes, and now I only get 1. I'm not sure if it's a bug or not. I did report it, but we haven't got any reply yet. I'd
have liked to have seen that report. I'd have liked to have read it saying, "Look, I'm a greedy gnome. I need more gems out of these stacks of ore. This has got to be a bug."
It's because I've made I usually make investment videos and such, and I've actually been counting on like having no luck versus having a lot of luck, where you get 2 gems kind of often, or 2 or 3 gems kind of often. So it's actually kind of huge for those who have invested into, for example, Thorium ores and such.
So I'm being 100% genuine here now. I'm not taking the mick. How did that ticket go? Because I'm hoping it didn't go along the lines of, look, I've been playing private servers for 15 years, and every time I prospect on those servers, I get 2 gems. I mean, how do you word something like that? How do you actually say you know it or you think it's a bug?
Well, I always go to Wowhead and look at all comments and try to look what patch did people write this in, and then I look for patch 2.0.x up to 2.4.3. Then I look at WoWWiki and like web pages like this, where they have a lot of knowledge. So it could be a bug. Also, like, I didn't get any TBC gems from prospecting Thorium ores, and some places actually state that this should be possible. So that's another thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to try and prospect TBC ores to see what's the drop chance, or like the rate of getting a blue gem or like a really good gem. So that's what I'm going to test next.
Sounds good. So three quick things. 3 really, really quick things. So firstly, are you slightly disappointed that we haven't got instant? Just a yes and no around the table. That's it. So Redzi, are you slightly disappointed that we can't send Mao to our own account instantly?
No.
And it's a 1 hour cooldown. You're not bothered about that. TSW, you bothered?
No.
If it's the same for everybody, it's not the end of the world. It'd be nice as a quality of life thing. It doesn't break the game for me.
Would you, Cutie, are you bothered? Not bothered?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
So when you send Mao in game, from one character to another character on the same account, the fact that it's still got an hour, delivery time, do you not think we're a little bit past that and we shouldn't have it?
Yeah, I hate it. It's so annoying also when you need to test stuff on beta, because then you have to transfer a character or copy it, and then you have to send the mails, and then you figure out, I missed one really important thing to test professions, for example. Then I have to wait 1 hour again. And I'm like, as I said, I'm not testing dungeons because everyone is mainly doing this. I'm actually testing all professions. So what I would love to see was actually vendors with all the different materials, for example, instead of only consumables.
Yeah, it seems like a strange thing not to put in game on the basis on a 2.4.3 client, unless I'm mistaken, and I'm spoilt by White Mane Raf. It should be there. It should. I'm sure
I
it should
think
be
it
instant.
should be there.
Instant, rather. So, all right, that was the first
question from when you first asked it to me. So, yeah, I would like it to be instant. But it doesn't bother me. No, it doesn't. But you changed it at the end there when you fucking asked it again. I'm like, I've got a different question, didn't I? Yeah,
Sorry, mate.
It'd be nice if it was instant, but no, it doesn't really bother me that much.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd like it. But, okay, second thing I'm slightly confused about as well. So, this is why I test everything myself. If I say in chat, like, oh, does this work? Someone will be like, yeah, I saw Warrior TSW doing it. He definitely done it. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'll write that down. And then it turns out it don't work. So I'd like to just test absolutely everything myself. It wasn't you specifically. Yeah. But are guild banks working in the beta? Because I can't get them to work.
I'm not in a guild.
No, they're not.
Well, I'm in a guild. I done it when I weren't in a guild, and everyone was like, no, definitely works. I've seen people do it. And then I'm like, oh, all right, well, it's not working for me. And they're like, no, you need to be in a guild. So I join a guild, and then I try it, and they're like, oh, it must be bugged for you. It's like, what?
No, come on.
What is it? Does it or don't it work? Yeah, it's a me problem. So to my knowledge, guild banks are not working on the beta. So we've got no instant mal. No, I tried to say that as best as I could. No guild bank. Wow. What I mean, what's they're two things that they need to be there, in my opinion.
Yes, you're right.
So try as guildmaster.
Oh, no,
yeah, they don't really. Yeah, like they should be in, and obviously guild banks should definitely be fucking functional at least.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
All right, so
the sooner
look,
the better.
I'm going to end this on a real short topic, and it is a real short topic, and this is going to be the end of it. Let's talk about drums. So
Short topic.
I thought that was a joke.
no, look, we've gone all the way to the end.
Right.
I didn't want to bring it up at the
Drums.
start. I didn't want to bring it up at the start because I didn't want someone to watch it on YouTube and straight away go, "Oh, it's another idiot talking about drums." Oh, it's 4 idiots
There they
talking
are
about drums.
again. Yeah.
I thought I'll leave it till the end because there'll only be the dedicated ones left now, and they'll still stay. So, what is going on with drums? So, TSW, firstly, you've probably used. I would say you've used or seen used more drums than me, QT, and Redsy put together. So, what are your thoughts on what the fuck that Blizzard are doing?
I mean, in their report their blue post a couple of days ago, they were basically saying they want to, like, they're concerned with the tuning. So if they're made to be easier, then that's something they're gonna have to, like, the wording, if I remember, they were basically saying if we make it easier, then they're gonna have to retune the bosses. And I'm like, or if they make drums, if they change like drums easier, drums harder, they have to retune or they don't want to retune. I'm like, what are you talking about? But what was the question? Sorry.
Well, just general thoughts on their sort of logic around drums and what they're doing,
Yeah, they're really scared to change them. So they did what I was kind of me and my big brain. They did what I kind of predicted. They're using the pre-nerf of drums. So drums changed in 2.1 when Black Temple and High Gel Tier 6 dropped. So it was originally in the game an 8-yard range and a 2-second cast. So that's what they're giving us as the basic drum, and then they're just adding as an additional item so drums changed in Tier 6 to be better. So they're giving us that as the greater drum. So they're not really giving us anything or taking anything away. They're just giving us the option in 2 different types of drum. You essentially have the pre-nerf drum and the post-nerf drum as 2 separate items. That's what they gave us. And it doesn't really do much of anything, really. Like the drums, I mean, the skill level and the coordination is obviously higher because if you're a ranged caster group, for example, you need to be within 8 yards of the person casting drums, but it's not that big of a deal, so it doesn't really change that much. And people are basically saying, it's the same picture. They've not really done anything when they said that they would. So
yeah, I mean that's exactly what, again, like you probably noticed it a bit earlier when I spoke a little passionately about it. Like Blizzard are just completely missing the point, and they're saying one thing and fucking doing another. Saying that they understand and saying that they get the reason why some things need changing, and then putting out a blue post, basically basically saying, we know, but no, that's what you do with every fucking time you try and design a new game. You give it to your fucking audience, they tell you stuff, you don't listen to them, and then 3 patches later, you introduce and implement all the changes that they asked you to, and then you try and take the credit for it being a quality of life fix. They're going to make it worse before they fucking make it better. And they'll make it better at the end in some well, and it won't be in the same way they're talking about now. I don't think they've really got any idea.
What they're doing. So
No,
just on drums, so my opinion, so I can't confirm or deny this. I hate going off hearsay. That's why, because it always comes back to sting you. If you're like, this person said this person, so it's best to steer away from that. But I've got to talk about it just because I heard it. So I heard that some guild, I don't know, they're called orangutans or something. They had like a guy who somehow made a private server with the real drums, and they was apparently raid wide. Now, I don't see that personally. I just want to put that out there straight away. I'm sure, the source might be reputable, might not be reputable, but if you've got orangutans running around with raid-wide drums, surely all that's going to do is make... You're still going to all go level working, but now you're going to use 3 or 4 different types of drums. That's what I would do.
Yeah, because people don't necessarily know that there's a haste drum, there's an attack power drum, there's a mana regen and health regen drum, there's a movement speed increase drum, there's all of this sort of stuff. And for the same reason that everyone who raids has minor movement speed on boots, there's a value to movement. So all of these drums are going to be used in unison, and you're going to be like, it's just so stupid. Because
Yeah.
But does that not for you, TSW? So and QT, I mean, Redsy, I don't know what your history is on dodgy servers, but for me, it shows a complete lack of understanding of what drums are, not just from Blizzard, but also from a large portion of the community. Because people are in uproar about, no, we need give them a sated debuff and stuff like that. But it's like, you're only talking about the haste drums, and yes, they are good. They are the best drums that you can get. Don't get me wrong, but there are other drums that we could just chain. We could get those on cooldown and then start chaining drums of war. Drums of war are solid for everybody. You're not going to say no to that.
I think, sorry to always be talking, but it's a very passionate topic of mine, and it's just a case of, I think that Blizzard fundamentally are like the biggest boomers when it comes to TBC. They have not been involved in the private server community. They have not spent like the last 15 years of TBC private servers looking and seeing what the meta is, what people are doing. It's fundamental, like people play the game fundamentally different. It's treated as a completely different game. It might have the same game title, but it's not, like, you interact with the game completely different, and so they need to look at the game completely differently. Yes, if you were to re-release TBC back in 2007, 2008, yeah, what they're doing would completely be fine, but right now it is not. You've had Classic to look and see how people play the game. Is it close to how people are playing it back in 2006? Yeah. No. So
exactly, it is the classic problem. Sorry, the classic problem with Blizzard is that they're out of touch with this entire project. I mean, anyone. Scotty said, "What's my experience with the Voldemort server?" So you must not be named. Like zero, really. Not raided in any of them. But as somebody who has fucking raided since Mr. Pandaria, I know that if I had to fucking go and get them drums, you know what the implication is, not just for yourself, but the rest of the arseholes with you. So you should be able to at least extrapolate or understand on some level what the implications are. They can't even do that. They're like, what if we had a couple extra levers to the crafting cost? Yeah, that should fix it. Go on then. Are you fucking mad? That's not even remotely what we're talking about. Like,
yeah. Why? And the thing is as well, Red. So with I'd like to draw fake QT into this. So with the fact that drums, they give a permanent 5% haste. It's all the people who have not actually played on Voldemort servers, as you put it, which I thought was beautiful.
That's amazing.
That don't actually understand that they do add some form of engaging gameplay as well. Yeah, all right. Oh, you lose a profession slot. What are you going to do? You're going to drop level work and you're going to go enchanting because enchanting is better. It's not like you're still the majority of raiders, and I'm not saying everybody. There's some people who are not bothered about having the best professions. That's fine, and I don't want to turn this into a massive min-max conversation. But you'd still, if you're struggling to kill a boss with your guild, so you don't have drums, you're a non-drums guild, you're not bothered about that. You get all the way up to Sunwell, you start struggling on the boss. You got a choice between disbanding or some of you changing your profession. Surely, just as a guild, the decision would be like, right, okay, I'll go level working. I'll go level working. I'll go. Exactly. You're gonna change anyway. And me personally, I would always be the profession that brings the most to the raid, or gives myself the biggest benefit, so I look like I've got a large penis on the damage meters. It's just what I would do. So QT, I know obviously you've had mixed opinions in previous podcasts about drums, no drums. I mean, what is your general feeling on especially what Blizzard are doing at the moment, but just as a whole, as a mage having level working? Shoot
you
him.
guys actually lost me so long ago because I hate talking about drums. I'm so sorry, but I've actually blacklisted them. I'm not watching any drum video. I'm not reading up on it because it's changing all the time. I've decided to blacklist it, and I'm actually just going tailoring and enchanting because that makes me get a bigger D on the damage meter, and it's money and it helps me in PvP and PvE. But yeah, I've blacklisted drums long ago, and I don't really have an opinion on it. We will be fine without them. I don't really care.
But if you was like, I've got to still keep digging. I'm sorry. So if we was you're going to be in the guild. We're struggling on I don't know. Let me just use a boss that we're never going to struggle on. We're struggling on Hogger. We can't get Hogger down as a guild, and we know that 5% haste for that particular party is going to be the difference between the kill or not killing it, what do you do?
Find another person that does more damage, and we kill the boss.
That person will probably have drums.
Yeah.
I really thought you were going to say, well, I've got loads of fucking money, so I'll boost leatherworking, craft drums, do it for that raid, we'll kill the boss, and I'll go back to
enchanting, yeah. Because then it's considered on farm once you've killed it once anyway, innit? That's what everyone says. Yeah, full nax on farm. But you kill KT once.
But let's be honest, do you think you need drums anyway? Now we actually talk about it. I hate this topic, but you see people at level 64 right now on beta killing or clearing level 70 content. I've seen so many guilds do this. They clear level 70 content already on the beta, the dungeons, with level 64 characters. Do you really think TBC content will be that difficult?
Me personally, do I think we need it?
Yeah, that's why I'm not really into drums, because
drums are a requirement for a differently tuned environment, which Blizzard will not provide you because they want people to have an easy, accessible time and keep their subscription up whilst they can't produce Shadowlands content.
Yeah, do you need drums? I would lean towards no, but not with how we think the content's going to be. But in Blackwing Lair, did everybody need engineering? For just to blow a sapper charge on the first boss on the first lot of trash before you start using the MC orb. No, you didn't need it, but still,
well, we fucking did it.
Yeah, we did it exactly. It is how the min-max culture trickles down, and that's what I've been saying all along. By no stretch of the imagination would I don't see all guilds enforcing drums, but if the top guilds start enforcing drums, it will trickle down to the more casual guilds naturally, to the point where it ends up being a requirement and everybody will have drums. But should Blizzard change drums to actually make them weaker? I don't think so. I think, change them. By all means, change them. Don't change them the way you're changing them now, though, Blizz, because you're off your head if you think that's actually going to achieve anything other than make raids stronger. It's outright wrong. Yeah. Actually, for me personally, for someone who's not anti-drums and does genuinely enjoy the rotation between between 4 people, always keeping that up, always having that 5% buff, please do change them. Make them raid wide. I'd love to have all 4 or 5 buffs kept up instead of 1. Let's do it. Yeah. So, are we done drums? Go on,
I just want the game to be difficult, and if drums is making the game easy, like if they're raid wide, and people think that that's a fix, it's like, well, now you can have enchanting, now you can have tailoring and all these other things. Now you can have jewel crafting for the better gems. You're making the content easier by having only 5 people needing drums. Yeah,
and that was my same argument, which you'd have had it TSW, you'd have had it in your stream, you'd have had it on your YouTube channel. People saying, the easy fix is just to make them BOE. It's like, oh great, so now we can have 3 professions. That's beautiful. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, not require the leatherworking to use.
Yeah, and it's like, well, doesn't really. All that does actually is make all the content easier. Because, you essentially are now going in with 3 professions that you would have had. You'd only had 2 back in TBC, but in classic TBC you can have 3.
And
I'm happy for them just to remove drums because it makes the content harder.
I think if they remove drums, it'd be better than if they gave everybody drums, because you devalue the quality of all of the game.
Yeah, or making them personal is not a bad shout. As in, having it so, I don't know, maybe you can it might have a 30-second uptime minute cooldown. So, you can, it's like a mini trinket. You can pop it every minute. So you've only got it up 50% of the fight. Would everybody then go that? I'd need to really look at the numbers.
Fake wants to say fucking no.
Fake he's going to DC from the call.
He's just going to smash his room.
Don't ask him.
I'm so sorry. I'm not to be rude, but let's be honest. I'm not, because I just hate drums.
I respect it a lot.
But another one. So what
Phil
everybody's saying, we'll move on from drums very, very slightly. We're not moving on from at all. So if they was just to add a sated debuff, tinnitus, like people keep talking about, like Zlax has just said in chat, does that mean they need to add it to Bloodlust as well and heroism?
No.
because that's far more powerful. And what's the difference between stacking level workers and stacking shamans?
The fact it's difficult, that one. That's a trap. That is a trap.
That's a trap you're not getting out of.
Because no one's gonna fucking take that many shamans, are they? Come on.
Oh, I don't know.
You can
you will.
take six. You can definitely take 6 shamans to a raid.
Yeah. What's that? 2 LE, 1 enhanced, 3 resto.
Maybe 2, and you could do 2 enhance. But yeah, roughly yes.
Yeah.
Just give mages time warp.
Hashtag
to your question about stacking, what's the difference between stacking shamans and stacking drums? Drums are an addition to your already existing raid, whereas a shaman, you're having to swap out an entire player to bring that shaman in. So there's a big sacrifice bringing a shaman in because you're literally changing the comp of your raid, whereas drums is like an additive extra. But that's what the community doesn't like because it's almost required extra, in the same way that like, oh, we need tanks to kill this boss, we don't like that. That's like saying, oh, we need drums, we don't like that. And then you have to think like Blizzard's goal with drums is like their design intent is for them not to be mandatory. So expect that if drums are changed again, that it's going to be in their goal is so they're not mandatory. So that would, like you were saying before about removing the leatherworking requirement element, that ticks off that box of them not being leatherworking not being a mandatory profession. So, but
yeah, who knows what they're going to do next? But they are going to change again. It's as simple as that. So one last topic, because we've already gone over what I said we would, and it is along the same lines. So, talking about shaman stacking. Well, we've spoke about drum stacking. We might as well talk about shaman stacking. Now, the biggest strength of a shaman, yes, they bring totems, yes, they buff the raid, all that sort of thing. But would that change the meta if we couldn't move members of the raid throughout parties in combat?
Yeah.
Would that be something that should that be done? Because I rarely put my view out first. I normally let you talk first, but I personally think it should. I don't think you should be able to move people mid raid. Redzi, you're sat there looking confused. Let Redzi go first because he looks like he's about to fall asleep in his chair.
That's always been in the game. I don't think that's an addition that really has.
When you say always, only up to TBC, as in TBC. That was changed.
People around in a raid dynamically.
Yeah, that did change.
Changed so that it was removed in TBC or added in TBC.
Oh no! It got removed later on after TBC, where you couldn't move people in combat. Okay. So it was something that got addressed. Yeah. Move. You can move people in raid. I don't mean like as you invite people. That's the order you're a raid. Fuck you. You have to invite them in a specific order.
No, but I thought you meant like once you enter the instance, you cannot change the.
No, only in combat. No, only in combat. So it stops you moving. You got John, who's the shaman in group 2, giving.
No, you got to stay. You got to stay where you are when you join the fight.
Yeah, that's that's how I feel personally. QT, you next. This ain't drums, mate. So you haven't got to shout at us. I reckon you can get involved in this one without getting aggressive again.
Let's just keep it the way it is, I guess.
Interesting. You're all right. You're all right benefiting from that shaman buff, but you ain't getting level working.
There's so many things they have to fix before, taking care of this. If they can't really take care of drums already, I don't know. I'd rather just wait and see what happens. To be honest, when it comes to these things.
I am hearing a lot of despair.
I feel like there's so many other things that is way more important to be fixed or looked into first. Like I said in the beginning, no clipping into dungeons and stuff. That stuff has to be looked into. But all these things is way more important, I feel like, than drum changes and class stacking and that kind of stuff. Because no matter what, people will always try to min-max, and that's how it is.
Yeah. So you're a little bit like, just to put it out here, a little bit like, well, moving people in raid, I'm all right with that. If I have to go level working, I'm all right with that. But when I prospect a stack of ore, I expect 2 gems.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to know that we are all on the same page.
Well. I think if I was signing up for a really hardcore guild, like really hardcore guild, where they expect me to do this, of course I would do it. But that's just not my mentality when I'm playing TBC, especially because I love the game so much. So if I try to min-max too much, I feel like I might lose interest really fast.
Yeah.
If everything is going to be way too min-maxed, everything is too prepared, then the content is going to be super easy, and you're like, okay, TBC wasn't the thing I was expecting. That's also why I don't have 5 or 10 Taylor alts or Alchemy alts. Like, I have 1 level 60 so far in Classic. I will have 2 really soon, but like I try to just chill a bit more to enjoy the game.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I will. But of course, if my guild told me to go dual crafting, if I had to swap raid groups and stuff, yeah, I would do that if that was my mentality. But yeah, it's not.
I look forward to you reading the private message on Discord from me later on. So TSW, go on, moving shamans in groups.
I think it changes the tuning of the raid, so they're not going to do it if they don't want to retune the raid.
But on the basis that we're worried about how difficult it's going to be, would that not be a good thing?
I don't think Blizzard will for that reason. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy enough for that to be a thing from a game design point of view to make it, harder. But they're not going to because of the raid tuning. But what people will be doing, like if you're a warrior in TBC Classic and playing in a guild that's trying to like compete, that warrior is going to be ping-ponging between all the groups, giving commanding shout, battle shout to everybody. You're going to be used and abused as a warrior, for example, more so than the shamans, because obviously you don't have a cooldown, and every 2 minutes you need a new shout.
You need to do it again. Yeah,
like it's going to be crazy in the high-end guilds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I always forget about the warrior shout, to be honest with you. I know, like I think about it more at the start of the fight.
For everyone in the raid, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, at the start of the fight,
5 globals every 2 minutes. The whole raid has 2k more HP. Do you guys think Hellstones are worthwhile? Cool. We'll have a Hellstone value for everyone. The entire you don't even need to use it. It's like obviously you need to press the Hellstone to benefit from it. Commanding shout, you just stand there and continue damaging. You don't need to worry about it. You've got the 2000 HP the whole fight. So powerful. As well as obviously the attack power. But obviously, if you have 2 warriors, you can have your physical with freaking commanding shout and battle shout. Pog. Wow. And then bring the shaman in, you get a lust. Bring the drums in, you get a drums. Oh, TBC content. Everything's getting one shot. Blizzard. Huh. How'd they do that?
How'd they do that? I'm more concerned about the fact that you just said Pog out loud. But, I mean... But no, it's a good point, and the warrior one is one that always slips through the net for me. But yeah, it's a very good point. It's another reason, in my opinion, that we should stop being able to move people around in combat. But I'm all for that because I just think it's a little bit too cheesy for my liking.
Yeah.
But all right, boys. Look, I mean, have any of you got anything to add before we call it a day?
I'm buying fake QT drum lessons for Christmas.
Yeah, I think next podcast, let's start the podcast with some drum talking. Maybe there's been some changes by then. Then we can. No, I'm joking. It's all good. It's all good.
Don't worry. This time next week, fake QT, we'd have had about 7 different drum changes. We're gonna. It's literally going to be a drum change in TBC podcast all the way up until TBC comes out.
Mate, this time next week they'll be like, yeah, so we heard the feedback and we know that we fucked up with the drum change, so we've actually turned them into guitars. Now there are 3 different kinds. You've got Spanish, you've got
Blizzard.
Looking one more electric guitar for Slave.
Yeah, looking for one more electric, please. Got to be Santana style. Come on.
Yes, definitely.
I'd really like to get. Sorry.
No, go on, mate.
Raid testing. I want to see raid testing in the beta because
100%.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a broken record, but I want to Yeah,
You want to break
do you
it.
think that classic WoW would have been the way it is if we had raid testing, and the raid testers one shot everything in
No.
MC?
Yeah,
Do you
probably.
not think that Blizzard would have said, "Whoa, the game design is to not one shot bosses. We're one shot bosses. That's failing that check of game design."
Well, I was taking the piss the other night, and I was like, "Don't," because I said we'll get raid testing, and then people in chat were saying, "No, we won't. You fucking idiot, fat idiot." I think they said as well. I'm not. I know I'm not an idiot. So they was like saying, and they was like, "Look, we won't get raid testing. You know, it didn't happen back then. They'll just have a small team of people at Blizzard testing it, and that's it." And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be well funny, wouldn't it? You got this hardcore team at Blizzard wiping on Ataman, and they're like, this is fucking really hard. And then us four go in and not solo it, but we just go and 4-man it. You know, it's like, yeah, they was
you
right.
Probably
Heavily
could.
tuned.
60 gear. I think you, Scott. I think you absolutely could. I think if we have a tank healer, like a DPS, and like another, like someone who can decurse, I think we could, all four of us, we could 4-man in level 60 gear achievement.
Yeah, more than likely.
Definitely.
That's why we need to go in and just absolutely blitz through it, and then all open bug reports on every single boss. Like, yep, this boss needs 50% more HP. This one needs to do 50% more damage. But it will be interesting doing it without DBM, though. Even though none of it's that difficult, and to be fair, even on those naughty servers, you
It'll
can't
be
really
easy
rely
enough.
on timers. But
I've already seen timers of the 5-man dungeon mechanics, and the trash at least, like some of it will do like it's you can like the third cast is the one you need to worry about, and at least for the trash, it's you pull the same mob again, and it's very the trash is very robotic in that sense.
Yeah,
It's predictable. So
it's
if you
always
like,
the same.
for example, like Maiden with the repentance, I would not expect. I would expect that after the third holy fire, it's the repentance every single pull. But again, that's something to see, because it'd be so nice. Because on some of the Voldemort servers, you literally have the bosses have like a cooldown of 20 seconds on repentance, and then you're there waiting. What's going to be? Is it next going to be holy fire, or is it going to be repentance? You don't know, because it's got a very wide, varied window, and I would love to see that. I'd love to see it if, like, for example, the repentance had a 5 to 60 second window, and you could literally have back-to-back repentance. Like, you could almost have, the healers out of it for the whole fight,
you could,
just because you get back-to-back. Like, that's cool.
And then you
Just
need
have
to
a
react
small-
to get the tank to move.
Yeah, exactly. Just have small things like that. And again, that's something that could change after the first month of the game. To let more
I
casual
agree.
people in and get the pugs people more successful.
Yeah, but no, I'm a big fan of abilities having cooldowns rather than X ability will be used in 10
Yeah,
seconds.
because then it just turns into the freaking like dance mat game where it's like, oh, dodge, oh, need to interrupt, oh, we done it, yeah, good job.
yeah,
guys.
that's exactly
Bing,
that.
bang.
Whereas, yeah, when you're like, shit, repentance is off cooldown, and you're just sat there please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You play it safe or you play it risky,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. All right, boys. Well, look, I think we've outstayed our welcome because they're probably all bored of listening. I mean, unless you want to talk more about drums.
Well,
Like, fake QT, go on, mate, you open this one. Talk a little bit more about drums.
Well, one thing actually, but not about drums. You were talking about all this raid testing and stuff. Are you not afraid that if we're going to test raids, that it's just going to be yet another min-maxing? Then, like, every tactics will be min-maxed. You will know exactly what to do. I mean, people right now in beta, most people are doing dungeons. They're trying to test how can they level the fastest to 70. A lot of them are, of course, they test stuff in dungeons, and they probably report if they find something game-breaking. But I see so many people dungeon farming. They're planning how to level the fastest from 60 to 70. And I don't know if people get to raid test as well and min-max everything and know the exact timer of when stuff is happening. It feels like the raid content will just be even easier if we actually get to see it. And then talking about like making the adjustments, I doubt Blizzard will ever do that. That's too much work.
Yeah, the work.
That's also why we don't get itemization and stuff. It's too much work. So yeah.
But would you not
times
hope?
long. Yeah.
But would you not hope that we go in there and we just absolutely annihilate it, and then they just go, we need to give it all 20% more health. We need to give it all 20%. Like, be lazy. You know, I'd rather them be lazy in the way where they don't bother actually tuning abilities. They just go static. They're like, right, 20% more health across the board, 10% more damage across the board. Some bosses it's going to make doable, nice and difficult, but, you know, it could even take some bosses to the point where it makes them nearly impossible, and they need tuning during the actual live TBC, which I'd be all right with, you know, because if you think...
Yeah, that'd be way better than the alternative of it just being completely underwhelming.
Yeah, because you could give most of the bosses, and again, TSW as a tank, you're probably the best person to answer, but you could give the majority of the bosses in Karazhan, we'll start with Karazhan, you know, a 50% damage buff, let's say, and still be comfortable. But then there's certain bosses like Prince, where with a 50%, you know, damage buff, that's now going to fucking hurt. Nightbane, that's going to hurt. You know, you got those bosses where they could take the lazy approach, but it is actually going to make those hard bosses so much harder that it will be fun.
Yeah, everything just spirals back down to game intent. Is the intent for Kara, like, if Blizzard say the intent for Kara has and always will be for you to be able to rock up to Kara in some greens, in some blues, and kill some bosses. If they say that that is our game intent, design intent, the essence, like, yeah, like, then that's fair. Like, they've said that's what Kara is, that's what Kara will be, that's fine. But the issue is that then, you know, we're going into it with Nax gear and what have you, and it's super duper easy. Or even if you're like a more casual player, you're going into it with pre-raid bis. You know, everyone knows where the pre-raid bis comes from, everyone knows what the good quests are. So even if you're a more casual player, you'll still have access to that information. So I feel like that kind of just, that argument gets diminished. It just gets diminished. Like, the more time that goes by, the more people who are making YouTube content showing you how to do the min-maxing, what's good and what isn't good.
Yeah.
But at least you could, like, you can't. Yeah, I mean, we're here in limbo, thinking, you know, we want it this way. What's it going to be? Or stressing out about it. But if Blizzard say, you know, Kara's there, you know, it's an entry-level raid. It's there to be done in blues and greens. Then it comes down to, well, can we have like a heroic mode of Kara or something? Because we need to, like, the hardcore, like the min-maxers need something to get their teeth stuck on. And it doesn't really exist in the game if it's in an easy state.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But look, we've spoken off about difficulty, drums. We've gone, well, I said hour and a half. We've done all right. It's nearly, like, probably about 2 hours after we got all the fluff out of the way at the beginning. So pretty good. So quick, just one last thing. This is not even about the podcast now, but just round the table. So Red Z,
Arena, right? It's Arena, right?
Tell these arenas. No, we're not going to talk about arena yet. Next week we're going to do a PV. I think once we're 70 on the beta, that's when we can start really talking about PvP. I think before then it's probably pointless, but we will definitely get to that. But Redzy, just tell all these beautiful people where they can find you. Maybe put the links in Twitch so they can give you a follow, give you a sub. That just saves me.
Oh, right, yeah. So you can find me on Twitch at Redzy_TV and the same place on YouTube. And if you just do Redzy TV on Twitter, if that's your bag, tweet some shit about pizzas and stuff. You know, pizzas are great. And yeah, I'm going to be live almost as often as I can, as close to every day as I can, whether it be for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever, 10 hours, streaming, and then videos of just interesting things that I come across in the game and any kind of preparations that we actually finally get confirmed from whatever changes that we get in the beta. You can come and drop a little like and subscribe, a little follow, that'd be nice.
Look and
subscribe in chat now.
Yeah, you get your links done in chat. TSW, where can they find you, my man?
YouTube and Twitch, WarriourTSW. Yeah, and thank you for having me, Scotty.
Always, mate. I love it when you're here. We always have a good little chat.
Thanks.
I suppose. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, cheers.
No, you haven't got to thank me, mate. You're part of the furniture by now. Fake QT, my man, my favourite mage in the world. Where can they find you?
Well, I'm streaming on Twitch and posting videos on my YouTube, and I'm mainly streaming different things people would like to see. So when I do my streams, it's I'm running around in the world testing different things that the viewers would like to see, and then I often make videos about them after. Else, I mainly talk about TBC and drums. Like, drums is just the best thing in the game, so that's mainly what I talk about on my stream. But else, yeah, I'm testing stuff right now on beta. So if there's anything you would like me to test, you can always come and say, hey, and we can do it on live stream, or you can, ask for it on my Discord, and I can try to make a video about it. So yeah, that's it.
Sounds good. So if any of you, I mean, TSW doesn't post that much on my Discord, but mate, obviously feel free to do it whenever you want. So anybody who wants to see when these chaps go live or when they post new videos, as long as they plug it on there, feel free to type !Discord in chat now. Join the Discord server. We've got, I've not looked for a while, but we've got around 2,000, maybe just over 2,000. I've not looked for a bit, so I don't know how many people we've got on there, but we've got quite a few, and it's all TBC content, talk all the time. People like these guys posting their videos as they do and blah, blah, blah. If you don't know where to find me because you've only just sort of joined the stream and you've not seen my YouTube videos, check me out on YouTube. If you have seen them, then check me out on www.onlyfans.com/Scottejaye87. Mario Nudes, only $4.99 a month. That's at 100% fact. Go check it out. Other than that, well, I've got to pay the bills, mate. I've got to stop laughing at me. I almost want to look up at you, Reds, and go, stop fucking laughing at me, mate. I've got to pay the bills, innit? I've got to pay the bills, mate. Right, anyway, until next week, Fake QT, when we talk about drums. Yeah, did I look the right way? No, I looked the wrong way. I need to look that way. Oh, this is all getting a bit too confusing. Right, boys. No, honestly, thank you very much. It's been a fucking pleasure to have you, all three of you, as always. If you're all available next week, as I say, this is going to be a beta recap week, like every Monday. So if you can all make it, We'll get different guests each week and stuff. We'll try and avoid Mincy because he doesn't turn up on time. But